Hey YouTubers, welcome to another episode of Let's Go Fishing with Paul. Today I got a really neat technique I want to show you about attaching items to your boat without drilling holes. So stick around and I'll show you the supplies you need and the step-by-step instructions on how to attach things to your boat without drilling holes. Huh? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I actually have two techniques I'm going to show you today. Stick around to the end for the second one, which is even easier than the first. If you don't want to wait till the end, look in the description. I have links for all the different sections of the video so you can jump around as much as you want. Let me show you some of the projects I completed in the past using this no drill technique so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Here you can see some rod holders I installed on the side of the boat. I didn't want to drill holes in the side of my boat because it's on the water line and I just don't want to have any holes on the side of my boat where water can come in. So using the technique I'm about to show you, I attached these rod holders and they work really well. You can see here that they're attached using stainless steel fasteners to a block of wood, and then that block of wood is glued to the side of the boat using the 3M 4200. These rod holders are exceptionally strong. I've had them installed for a couple of years now. They hold the rods just fine, trailering on the water, everything's great. On the other side of the boat you can see I installed a net holder to keep my net from laying around in the bottom of the boat. I made this holder from some PVC pipe screwed to a piece of wood and glued to the side of the boat, and it's super strong, holding real well, not going anywhere. It's worked out really well. Here's an application where you wouldn't want to use adhesive. This is my ram mount for my fish finder on the back of the boat. Anything that's going to experience a lot of torque, you don't want to use this adhesive method. So for the ram mount, I went ahead and drilled holes and fastened it directly to the boat using some stainless steel screws. Alright, let's talk about the supplies you're going to need for this project. Here's a rod holder that I want to install on my boat. So the first thing you want to get is a scrap piece of wood that matches about the same size as the item you want to install. For attaching the rod holder to the piece of wood, I'm going to need some stainless steel screws, a drill, and a screwdriver. You're going to want to paint the piece of wood to protect it from the elements so it doesn't absorb water and eventually rot off the boat. You're also going to want some cleaning materials, paper towels, shop rag. You're going to also want some household cleaner for removing grime and dirt. I usually use Windex because it's ammonia based, and ammonia based cleaners does a real good job of prepping the area. You're also going to want to get some paint thinner. Paint thinner is extremely important for this project for prepping the area properly, so make sure you have that on hand. The most important item for this project is 3M Marine Adhesive Sealant 4200. This adhesive is pretty amazing stuff, especially for marine environments that undergo a lot of harsh conditions. Make sure you pick up the 3M version. I wouldn't necessarily trust any other adhesive for this particular application. 3M 4200 is an amazing product for boat projects. It can be used as an adhesive like we are doing today, and it can also be used as a sealant both above and below the waterline. I've used 4200 in the past to seal holes below the waterline and never had any leaks. It works really well. The 4200 is a semi-permanent bond, so you can remove the items you glued using 4200 in the future with some effort. 3M also makes a 5200 version, which is a permanent bond. I don't recommend using 5200 unless you know for sure you will never want to remove the item in the future. You can find 3M 4200 in marine stores, but I've never seen it in a big box store. You can order it off of Amazon. Check the descriptions for links. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. The first step you want to do is to find a piece of wood and cut it to the right length for your particular project. The piece of wood serves two purposes. One is to avoid drilling holes in your boat by drilling holes in the wood instead and fastening the object to the piece of wood. And the second purpose is to provide a large surface area for the glue to attach the item to your boat. You don't want to use a real small piece of wood because we want to get a good amount of glue between it and the boat so that it holds tight and doesn't come off sometime in the future. After you cut the wood down to the right size for your project, go ahead and apply several coats of paint to the piece of wood to waterproof it and protect it from the elements while it's on the boat. Step 3 is attaching your accessory to the wood. Drill a small hole and attach your accessory using a fastener. Make an effort to get some stainless steel fasteners because they won't rust, and in the long run, they look better on your boat. In the upcoming steps, we're going to position the rod holder and prep the area for gluing. The cleaning steps that I'm about to show you are extremely important. You really want to make sure you do this, or else your project's not going to turn out like you want. If the surfaces aren't as clean as we can get them, then the adhesive is not going to stick as well as it should, and eventually your item's going to fall off the boat. If you follow these directions carefully and make sure you clean really well before applying the adhesive, you'll have a successful boat project. Next, test fit the item on your boat in the area where you want to install it. You can either mark the area or just remember the general area where the item is going to be installed. Use some universal cleaner, water, and good old-fashioned elbow grease to remove any dirt and grime in the area that has accumulated. The cleaner the surfaces, the better the item will stick when we glue it on. Just before you are ready to apply the glue, you want to prepare the areas for the glue by using paint thinner to clean the area thoroughly. This step removes any residues that are left behind from the factory paint, sunscreen, fish slime, etc. The primary purpose is to remove any invisible residues that will hinder the glue from sticking. Don't do this step too far in advance. You want to do it right before you apply the glue, and just give it enough time for the paint thinner to evaporate before applying the glue. You want to apply the same paint thinner cleaning method to the piece of wood you painted in order to remove any residue that was left behind by the paint you used to paint the piece of wood. This will ensure the absolute strongest bond possible between the two surfaces when they are mated together using the adhesive. It's finally time to apply the adhesive and attach the item to the boat. Here I'm using toothpaste for demonstration purposes, but the process is the same when you use the actual adhesive. Apply a decent amount of adhesive to the piece of wood, and then press the item in place. The adhesive is tacky enough that it should hold the item in place while the glue dries. If your item is particularly heavy, you may need to brace it in place. Read the 4200 directions carefully for cure times, but usually you don't want to use the item for at least 24 hours. Okay, let's talk about the second technique, which uses heavy-duty double-sided tape. You can find heavy-duty double-sided tape at any hardware store. This technique is less robust than the first technique, so naturally it should only be used for lighter applications. Here's an example where I used the double-sided tape technique to install a fish finder on the front of my boat. This is a fairly lightweight application, and therefore I didn't need to use the 4200. And I also wanted to have the option of moving this around on the front of the boat if I decided to put the fish finder in a different location. Just like before, we're going to start with a piece of wood, preferably painted. In this example, I'm using an unpainted piece of wood just to show the technique. The double-sided tape sticks best to really clean surfaces, so we're going to go ahead and wipe off any excess dust and dirt on the piece of wood, and then clean it with the paint thinner just like we did before. Next, you want to cut strips of tape to fit the piece of wood that you're using, and then place those strips of tape on the piece of wood, making sure to press down firmly. Continue cutting and placing strips of tape, making sure to use a liberal amount of tape and cover the piece of wood as much as possible to get the best hold you possibly can. Now we're going to prep the installation area by removing any dirt and grime and any leftover residues using the paint thinner cleaning technique. Finally, place the piece of wood with the double-sided tape in the correct location, and then press down firmly and hold for several seconds to ensure a good stick. Well, I hope you found this video useful for your next boat project. If you liked what you saw, leave a comment down below. Also, if you have any neat tips for modifying your boat, leave a comment as well. And hey, hope to see you next time, and next time you come back, let's go fishing.